Okay everybody, hi, David Dilling from Markzware. Today's little tip here is how to place images in Adobe InDesign CS6. How to put an image into an InDesign document, in this case CS6, but the same applies to CS5.5, CS5, CS4, and so forth really. It's very important because for some novices or people starting out, they don't know exactly how to do it. They're more familiar with Word or Publisher or something like that, and they're doing it incorrectly, which can cause corruption and can cause your file to not open anymore. And we at Markzware put a link, also fix bad files, and we see this often. And a lot of times the case is they're doing it wrong, placing images incorrectly. So let me show you what I mean here. The proper way to place an image, let's start with that, is I want to place an image here in between this text. The proper way to place an image in Adobe InDesign CS6 is to go up here, to add a graphic into your document, or add a logo, or add, a screen picture, whatever it might be. The way to do that standard is under File and go to Place. On a Macintosh, that's Command D on your keyboard as a shortcut, which is very handy. And when you click Place, so then you'll be asked to choose a document. You get this Place dialog, and you like your file opening a file, but in this case you're going to place it. So you choose the image you want to place. You click Open, and now you have that image right where you want it. Now, of course, you have to resize it. Now we have to get the content in there proportionally, so we go to Object, and we go Fitting, and we go Fit Content Proportionally. And you see we get that in there. All right, so that's a way to properly place an image. There's also another way you can do File, Place. And you see, now I haven't chosen a location to place it yet. I've just gone to File, Place. Now I can choose exactly where I want to place that image. So I can, place that over here or whatever. Because that's just a small little mini Markzware logo for Twitter and whatnot. All right, so there's a couple quick tips on how to place images, placing images 101 in InDesign, the basics of it. Now, how not to place images. So, let me show you here what some people do. What they do is they'll go to the internet, and here's the Markzware page, and they find an image they like, hey, that's a cool Markzware logo. Let's throw that right in here. Looks great on screen, right? Okay, so let's put a couple more in there. Well, here's a nice little icon thing. Hey, and I want to make that bigger. So I just learned that trick, Object, Fit Content Proportionally. I make it bigger. And it looks relatively okay. It looks a little grainy, a little fuzzy. Is it high res or low res? These are all things we have to really keep in mind. So people often are going, often, I don't know if it's often, I hope not, but people are using the internet. For instance, if you go to, if you look for, do a search for Flightcheck, and then you go to Images. When you search for Flightcheck, the Preflight patented tool to help you check your files before going to print, you'll get a bunch of images. So you might say, well, here, I want to use that one. Or you might actually click on it and view original image, and then you can go over here and put the whole darn image in there. Just for sakes, we'll do it like that. Okay. Another bad way to place images is the following. Is going into Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint, and a lot of people do it from Word. Now I'm showing you from PowerPoint just because I know I have the images embedded there. And what we can do, same thing applies for Word. A lot of people do this from Word because a lot of Word documents are semi-used for desktop publishing type of layouts. So yeah, hey, here's a cool image. I want to use my quality triangle. So you go over here and you grab it from PowerPoint, and it all seems to work. And it does work. I mean, there is the image of Preflight quality control, how checking preflighting your files will save you tons of time and money if you stop a problem at design compared to press, right? Okay. So there we have, okay. So here we have some images. Now I'm not going to go around and make this a perfect looking layout. That's not the idea here right now. I've just showed you the proper way to place images, and now I showed you some improper ways to place images. It looks fine, right? Everything looks fine in this. So now we're going to save this document out. Onto my desktop. Now the first thing I can do to have a look at it is check it with Flightcheck. Flightcheck is a pre-filling application to look inside and x-ray your files to find given problems based on said preferences to make sure that everything will output correctly. Very handy tool for design and pre-press alike, and certainly for publishers. Now what you quickly see, InDesign has Preflight built in, but this is a lot, in my view, of course, but other people's views as well, a lot simpler because it's standalone and just focuses on that. The first screen we get results, but I just want to jump right in and show you. Now we get colors and fonts, and we see some missing fonts. That can be a big problem. And we're just going to hide colors and fonts for now. And what I just want to show you here is the images section. And right away what you see are some interesting things. You see we have some stored images. And what you'll see is these stored images don't have a name because they're coming from the ones I've dragged and dropped from the internet. Make this screen bigger. What you'll see is we're getting these strange hard drive user, Markzware EU, desktop, PDF, DTP, customers. It's showing up with a number, and it's coming from the internet. These are the images coming from the internet. They're showed as stored, not locally on our hard drive. They're from the internet. So they look fine, and they seem fine for the time being, but if I sent this file off to be printed, it just wouldn't work. Stronger, or furthermore, it can also cause the file to go corrupt because it's not the proper way. It's something InDesign just doesn't like it, and it causes corruption. Okay, you see we have a missing image, so that's also a problem. By the way, Flightcheck can collect your job as well with all fonts and images collected into one folder. Very handy. And if we did that in this case, what you'll see. And I won't compress. You can compress the job, also very useful. What you'll see, get here a file with a Flightcheck folder that says "Watch out, there's problems." But in that folder, excuse me, thing we need to send to the next person in the workflow, whether it's a publisher, a designer, or pre-press printing. We get the file, Preflight report, the fonts for use only for this job, and the images. Now what you'll see right away is we don't have those. It didn't collect those images from the internet. Of course not. It just can't do that. InDesign can't deal with it. Flightcheck doesn't deal with it either. It's just the way it is. You have to, desktop publishing is done traditionally that you use the images locally from your hard drive or from associated drives, which should be connected, of course. If you disconnect a drive, the image also won't be available anymore for collection. All right, everybody, so that's how you can place images within InDesign CS6. That's why they call it placing, file, place is the best way to place an image. You can also drag and drop from your hard drive onto your document, and I'll show you that real quick here. So if I have here a folder of images, I can take one and drop it in like that, and then you get that place thing. So you can do that, and that's valid because it's coming from a location on your hard drive, and it will now be, and you see up here in the links panel, you see up here in InDesign that it's available for collection. It's not missing, but if we scroll down to these links, you see we don't see them. They're not even there. I mean, we can go to that page, and we can look in the links, and it's just not showing up because, like we saw on Flightcheck, Flightcheck sees them that we don't even see them here, and Flightcheck tells you they're stored, meaning they're from someplace else. They're temporarily stored in your hard drive, so it appears, but they're not there. As you can see in InDesign, it tells us, well, we don't even know they're not there. I mean, it just doesn't even show you. So that's how to place images in InDesign CS6. For more information on Markzware's products, like Flightcheck or you saw PDF DTP, that's a tool to, not place a PDF in your InDesign, because you can also place a PDF as a page or an image, but it will convert PDFs right into InDesign or Quark. So a great way to get your PDF files converted into InDesign. Once again, David Dilling from Markzware on this quick tip how to place images in InDesign CS6, the do's and the do nots. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Take care.